Hi, everyone. This is Drew from the Dublin Fitness Center. I want to thank you all for joining today and also really appreciate our guest speaker today, Lisa from the Columbus Running Company, for taking her time to put together this presentation of some great cold weather running tips. And I'll let you know this is being recorded and we'll post it on our website and on our YouTube page. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Lisa right now.
All right. Thanks, Drew. I really appreciate it. So I think it's fun that we're doing a cold weather running presentation today. And I just got done walking my dog and it's 60 degrees outside. So if you're in the Columbus, Ohio area and you have an opportunity, get outside today. It's a little blustery, but it's absolutely gorgeous and much different than my run outside on Tuesday morning. So, but anyhow, we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to talk about cold weather running gear. If you have any questions, if you don't mind, just hold them till the end. It's just with the Zoom calls, sometimes it's just easier, then we can just do all the questions at the end. But I am more than happy to try to answer any questions. If I don't know the answer, I'm never afraid to tell you that I don't know, but I can try to find out for you. So as Drew said, I am with the Columbus Running Company. For those of you who are not in Columbus, we are a locally owned and operated retail business. We fit folks for shoes, different gear. We have running groups and whatnot, but we have 5 locations in Columbus. So we're Dublin, Westerville, Short North, Pickerington, and then we just opened a store in Powell. So we've been in business for 16 years. I've been with CRC for 5 years, and I've been a runner for about, 14 years, started in my 40s. So never too late to get started. But this presentation isn't just for runners, it's also for walkers. We're just talking about getting outside, during the colder months and, how to protect ourselves and get going. So let's get moving here. All righty. So getting out the door. Sometimes that is the hardest thing to do. I know it certainly is for me. I am a much more of a warm weather runner. I don't love the cold by any means, but there certainly are some different tricks that we can play on ourselves to get ourselves out there. But one of the things that I get asked a lot, is it dangerous to go out and run in the cold? And, it's one of those questions that, there's not a real clear answer, but in general terms, not really, as long as you protect yourself. So, we want to look at things as far as what you're going to wear and just using a little bit of common sense. I have my own threshold as to when I won't go outside and run, either on the cold end or on the hot end. But, the main thing you want to think about is dressing in layers. And we're going to talk a little bit more as we go through the presentation as to, some different ideas for layers. I have some samples that I brought with me that I can show you some things, and I have some pictures as well. But, you want to make sure you've got some layers in there that allows you to not overdress. And if you do overdress, like I typically do, you have the opportunity to be able to take some things off if you get overheated. The other thing too is to remove any wet clothes you have on as soon as possible. If I'm driving to a park to meet friends to go for a run, I always have a sweatshirt in the car so that as soon as I get done running, I can get some of those wet layers off and throw a sweatshirt on and, just make sure I get that so I'm not standing outside in the cold. The other thing is just use some common sense. I mean, I know that sounds easier sometimes than it is, but some things that you should think about when it starts to get, below freezing. Do you already have an underlying health condition? If you maybe have asthma and you already know that walking outside is hard on your lungs, then, maybe it's time to stay inside and hit the treadmill instead. Some things that you can think about wearing to try to help you though. I know when I first started running in the cold did bother my lungs a little bit, but I did get used to it. But, using some things like I've got this buff here that you put on, over your head. Everybody knows what these are, I think now, but, it kind of covers over your nose and your mouth. And There can be kind of a challenge sometimes to run or walk with. But the nice thing about those is what happens is as you're breathing in, and we recommend trying to breathe through your nose as best you can, but we know when it's wintertime, you get a little bit snotty and maybe it's a little hard to do that, but best you can, breathe in and out through your nose. But what you're doing is you're actually warming up the air that's in your mask or your buff or, whatever face covering you have, so that exhale warms the air, and then as you're breathing it in, it kind of prepares that cooler air, warms that cooler air for your lungs. So sometimes that can be something that can help. If you're a fast runner, maybe this is time to slow down a little bit. You want to focus more on endurance than on speed, so that you're not breathing as hard. So those are some tips as far as, if you do have some difficulty with that cold air coming into your lungs, some different things that you can do in that regard. Another thing, and I've been doing a little research on this, and so I've got some articles towards the end that you can pop in there and read. But one of the other things they talked about was warming up before you head out the door. And, not to the point that you're sweaty when you head out, but if your body's already a little bit warm, that cold air doesn't feel quite as stinging, as biting. So do things like maybe, move around a little bit in your house before you get started, going up and down the stairs, maybe do a little housework, one of my least favorite things to do. Or maybe do some sun salutations. So what's that? That's in yoga. That's just some basic movement where you're moving your arms up and you're bending your body over, and it's just kind of getting your body a little bit warmed up. While you're doing that, you're actually doing a dynamic warm up. So I can tell you that most runners I know, and I'm probably one of those as well, are terrible about doing a warm up before they run. They just go head out the door and just start going. But if you do a dynamic warm up, and I'm not talking about stretching. You're doing things like maybe hip circles or arm swings or leg swings. And what you're doing is you're getting that blood flowing, and that is helping you whether it's cold or warm outside. But it starts to flow that blood to those muscles. And it's, so we talk about not stretching a cold muscle, or not, going out and, when your body is cold, heading out to start that run. This is a great way to get that blood flowing and really help you hopefully prevent some injuries heading out the door. But all those things are some great things to kind of, prepare yourself for getting out the door, and hopefully doing it safely. So we look at, some different things to ways to dress. Okay. Less is more. The picture I have of this person, I am pretty sure that was a very, very cold day. He is wearing many layers there, but he does have that face mask like I was talking about. So helping him as far as whatever, however it makes him feel better, getting out there. I think there may be some sunglasses in there, but I can't quite tell. It's kind of hard to tell in the picture. But one rule of thumb to use is, we call it the 20-degree rule. And what you want to think about is, if it's 30 degrees outside, dress as though it's 50 degrees. And when I'm talking about the degrees, I'm also talking about, adding in that wind chill in there too. So, it may be 30 degrees, but, 17 with the wind chill or something like that. You want to consider that wind chill in there as well. But if you dress as though it's 30 degrees, you are going to be so overheated, because your body is going to warm up as you're running and walking, and you're going to end up sweating and just being, really having too much on. So you want to think about, again, layering and then dressing as though it's actually warmer out than what it is. If you walk out the door and you're already comfortable, then you're probably overdressed. You just want to be just a little bit cold. Like I said, you want to dress in layers. So you want to start with a good base layer. That base layer, what it does, it creates a pocket of insulation and it actually helps, like, it kind of puts that little pocket in there so that it kind of helps your body stay warm, but it allows you still to have some room for, to sweat and to get that heat out of your body as well. So yeah, that pocket insulation, and it ensures you have a dry layer somewhere in there. If you do overdress, like I tend to do, I can sit here and give this presentation and I break a lot of these rules. I'll just be honest. But if you do tend to overdress, and you have too many layers on, at least if you have layers, you can shed some things. So that's a good thing. That outermost layer should be windproof, especially if it is windy out there. Blocking the wind can be a real key, especially as we start to see, the wind chills kick up. And, you want to think about protecting your extremities. Okay. So, a hat to put on to, keep your head warm. We hear, all that heat loss goes out of your head. Gloves. So I've got a pair of actually of some glove mitten combination here. So hopefully you can see this, but this little guy pops down. There's a little pocket here that it pops into. So then it becomes a glove. But the nice thing about it is that it can, so if I get too warm, I can pop that little thing off, but it also provides some wind protection, and it's also reflective. So it's nice from a safety standpoint as well. So things like that can be really helpful. Wool and wool blends are really important. So you want to think about your socks. I typically tend to wear a feature sock or smart wool or something like that that has some merino wool in it. And that merino wool is a bent fiber, so it's not scratchy, and it really can do a lot to keep your feet warm. Interestingly enough, it's also good in the summertime and keeps your feet cool, which I think is kind of odd. But overall, the one thing to remember is no cotton. Cotton is a hollow fiber, and cotton absorbs that moisture and it'll hold it up against your body. So when I see somebody out running and they've got their cotton hoodie on, they are just going to be so much more uncomfortable because they're going to, all that moisture is going to stay against their body. So we like to say cotton is rotten. So try to stay away from cotton. Like I said, I've got some different examples. Like this is a nice base layer. It's pretty thin. Sorry, I'm not holding it up very well here, but you could pair this with a nice jacket, and you could probably go easily 30 degrees with something like this. There's some other products that you can do. Oops, I must have dropped that one. But, as far as like tights and things like that go, we'll kind of go over some pictures of some things like that. So when I'm talking about this cold weather terminology, you hear base layer, you hear outer layer, you hear tights. That base layer is going to be the thing that's going to be, right against your body. Actually, the shirt I have on is a good base layer. It's a fabric that will kind of pull some of that moisture away from your body, and then you pair it with that outer layer, and that would be, again, maybe something like a jacket like this, or this is a good outer layer as well if it's not quite as cold outside. Nice thing again about it is it's reflective. So those are some ideas there. You want that outer layer to protect you, again, depending on what the temperature is. Leggings, again, that's another thing where we kind of talk about less is more. Typically for me, it's my upper body that gets more cold. My legs don't get quite as cold, but you do want to consider if it's really windy. I've got these tights here. Whoops, sorry, it's hard to see. That actually, if I turn the lights off and shone a light on these, they're completely reflective. But the nice thing about them is that this panel here also provides some wind protection. They're fleece lined, which is nice. So I'm going to wear these when we're talking something in the teens or below, because otherwise they're going to be way too warm. In normal conditions, just a thinner running tight would work just fine. So kind of think about that. Is there a really strong wind chill going on? What's the temperature? I sometimes will look at the temperature the night before, put all my clothes out to go running in the morning, and all of a sudden it changes. So, what you want to think about that as well. On Tuesday morning, I set my clothes out on Monday night, thinking it was going to be much colder than what it actually was. and I was completely overdressed. And by the time I was done, I was very, very sweaty, and we're going to talk about hydration. I was pretty dehydrated because I just had overdone it with the clothes I had. And I based that on what the weather forecast was from the night before. So anyhow, here's some examples again of base layers. You will notice that a couple of these people have a shirt underneath that. You wouldn't put something underneath that. The reason they did that is because they threw those on for the picture. So in the top corner there, the gray shirt that Carla's wearing is actually a product from Mizuno. It's called Breath Thermo. And actually, Michael doesn't have it on. But anyhow, Carla's got that Breath Thermo shirt on. Really, really nice. It's not a heavy shirt or heavy top. When you sweat, the technology in that actually, it makes that heat up. So you can wear that in just a lightweight jacket when it's probably about 30 degrees. So, we're not talking about big, heavy, bulky things that you're going to need to wear outside. So much of the technology now is a lot lighter weight, but still provides a lot of warmth. The picture in the center and the picture at the bottom, again, are just a nice thin base layer, and you'd want to pair that with a little bit warmer jacket. So here's some outer layer options. And as you can see, most of these are, look really super lightweight. Almost all of them have some type of reflective properties in them, which is really nice and really important. Pockets and things like that. But these are some really great options when you're looking at, that outer layer. And you just have to think about what's important to you. I like something that zips all the way down so that I can take it off if I want to. But some people like, a half zip or a quarter zip type of a product. And this is some example of different tights and other base layers and jackets. The tights that I'm showing here, again, these are going to be ones probably for a little bit cooler weather. So I'm thinking probably, in the 20 degree range, I would say, maybe 30 degrees. The black and white ones, the women's there, actually has some wind protection on it. And, anybody in the store can kind of give you that advice as to, what are some of the different qualities of the product. If you're not a big fan of tights, there are some other looser pants that still provide you some warmth and some protection. And then we'll talk about accessories, which I did actually cover just a little bit. But, one of the things that people don't think about are sunglasses. It's wintertime. Don't think about that. The sun is still intense. The nice thing about a pair of sunglasses, these are Tifosi sunglasses, we also carry Gooder, is that they also help protect the wind a little bit from getting in your eyes, but still give you that, reflective protection that you need. I talked a little bit about socks, and I talked about, this little buff thing. I went to an event years ago and they had these. I had no idea what these things were, but now we all probably know what these things do. But hats and masks, I can tell you, at least in the Columbus area, Franklin County area, right now, if you are on any kind of trails or metro parks or anything like that, you have to have some kind of face protection. So, we carry plenty of products that you can use, as far as to try to cover your face. But there are other types of masks, running masks that, again, give you some of that wind protection and protection for your lungs. The one thing that I want to also point out is safety items. With the time change and, it gets dark earlier and it's dark later in the morning, it's just really important, especially if you're going to get outside and run or walk, to make sure that you do have, different safety items with you. So for example, I mentioned some of the clothing has, reflective qualities to it, a headlamp. I mean, these are really attractive, but again, another good thing for you to be seen and you to be able to see. And then I also have my Knox gear. I don't know if this is gonna Well, it does light up on here. Okay. So, and this is just like a nice vest that it can, provide. Again, if you're out walking or running, you can see people down the road with this Knox gear on. So very, very lightweight. And, really, again, really nice quality product that you can get. But, these are just some different examples of some things to keep you safe in the dark. And I just think it's really important to incorporate that into what you're going to wear. Some other tips as far as keeping yourself safe and out there running and walking. If it's really cold out, if the wind chill has dipped into the teens, I am going to put some Vaseline on my cheeks and on my face. It just provides that protective layer so that I don't get frostbite, or just to protect my skin. Vaseline, Aquaphor, Body Glide, anything like that, just to kind of give you that protective layer. Another little tip is as you start out, run into the wind first. So if the wind is swirling around, if you can run into the wind so that on your way back, it's at your back, you're going to be much more comfortable. Because if you think about it, as you're starting out, you're not sweaty yet. And so if you do it the opposite way, you're sweaty, you're on your way home, and now you've got that wind coming right at you. It's going to make you a lot colder. So think about that running into the wind. I mentioned earlier about removing your wet clothing immediately. Many times after I get done with my run, I have to come home and walk the dog. So the first thing I do is I just get off all those wet clothes, put some dry clothes on, and go outside and walk the dog. But it will make you much more comfortable. Another thing is, if I am driving to a park or someplace and I'm going to, go out for a run or a walk, I'll put the seat heaters on my car. For it kind of serves two purposes. One, it kind of gets me a little bit warm before I head out the car door, but it also warms up my muscles a little bit. So that's kind of my fun little tip, is to use your seat heater. Keep your footing. You want to consider if it is slippery out. If it's snowy, you can wear yak tracks, they fit on the bottom of your shoe and have little spikies. If it's icy, you don't want to wear those because you're going to slide around a lot. But I'll wear sometimes my trail shoes in the snow or on the ice, because they do have extra, you can see they have extra little grooves in here, and they have a little bit of tackiness to them. This is the More from New Balance trail shoe. It's a new trail shoe they have out, but it's really lightweight. So it looks a little big and clunky, but it really isn't. Super lightweight, and it really can help provide that extra traction when you're out there on the road. And then the last thing I want to mention is hydration. Probably the first thing I should have mentioned, but you're outside, it's cold, and you don't think about how much you're losing as far as your hydration. Running and walking in the wintertime, hydrating is just as important as it is in the summertime. I probably was my most dehydrated on a run in the wintertime, when it was probably, in the single digits. I, had a lot of layers on, and just was out for a very long run and sweated so much and didn't think about how much water, how much fluid I was losing. So, think about making sure that you stay really well hydrated. Actually, one article I read said that maintaining hydration reduces the risk of hypothermia and also breathing difficulties. So kind of keep that in mind. So if you think about it, at least when you're running in the summertime, I always tell people to make sure you're hydrating throughout the week. So for that long weekend run, your body is really well hydrated. Same thing for wintertime running. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure that you stay really well hydrated. Water is always still the best source of hydration, but if you are out for a long period of time, like over an hour, you might want to add some electrolytes back in, but make sure that you are getting some good water after you're finished, and a little bit of water before you get started too. So here are some references. I'm thinking that Drew will probably send these slides out to anybody who is interested, but this gives you some different ideas as to, it kind of talks a little bit about what I talked about. Some of these go into a little bit more depth, but they have some really good tips as far as additional gear to wear and just some, ways to stay comfortable while you're outside running and walking in the cold. And then I'm going to mention some upcoming events. So Cardinal has their virtual turkey trot coming up. You can participate between November 23rd and the 29th. I have a link here if you would like to sign up for it. And then additionally, Columbus Running Company, for you guys participating in this presentation today, you actually can get a discount at Columbus Running Company up through the end of this year by using the code Cardinal Health 20. That's good in store and online. So if you come into the store, if you can print off this slide, you can bring it in and you can use that as a way to get a discount in the store. It's $15 off the purchase of any item, $50 or any purchase of $50 or more. So it doesn't have to be the items 50, but your total purchase of 50 or more. So just as our way of saying thank you for letting me present today. And then also another idea too, even if you aren't in the Columbus area, Columbus Running Company has a program called Inspire Columbus Winter Challenge. And we've done this now the last few years, but it's a way to get yourself outside every day during the month of January. You just have to run or walk, somehow move a mile. Can't be in your car, can't be on the treadmill, it has to be outside. But it's a fun challenge. We have a lot of prizes that we award. There you can add on a hoodie or a sweatshirt, not to wear out on your run or walk because it's probably not tech fabric, I'm not certain. But in any event, it's a fun way just to get out there and encourage yourself to get out there running, walking, just getting outside. So that is the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just put it back onto the Zoom call so that if people have questions, you're welcome to ask questions. I just got a kick out of this picture. Right now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I do kind of just want to put my head in the sand and not pay attention to what else is going on in the world. But I thought this dog with his head in the snow was pretty darn cute. So, get out there, get moving. Don't be afraid to be outside when it is cold. Use these beautiful days that we get every so often where it is a little bit warmer out. But just remember layering, remember hydrating, and remember to smile. So those are the main things. I'm going to stop sharing. So, so if anyone has questions, see if I can get this on the gallery view. There we go. Feel free. You can either put them in the chat if you want to, or if you want to unmute yourselves, that is fine. I think it should be set up that you can unmute. So what questions do we have?
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for sharing today. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I do have a question about, you had mentioned traction when it's slippery outside. Are there products that you recommend that you could, I guess, add to your shoes, or what do you recommend for that?
Yeah, so there are a couple. The one that I'm most familiar with is Yaktrax, but there are other ones that are similar to that you literally, they strap on the bottom of your shoe. So it's, they come in different sizes and it's got like little springy things and very, very simple on and off. But they have like little spikes on the bottom that help give you that traction.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Well, we do have a lot of options, in the stores if you're here locally in Columbus to go in and, check out some different things. And you will be doing some Black Friday sales on various items. So kind of keep an eye out on our website. Once we are able to be running again and walking again together, We do have free weekly or Saturday morning group runs and walks out of 4 of our stores, and our PAL store, we actually will be doing a Sunday morning. Right now, we have been doing a Thursday evening run from our PAL store, combining that with Nocterra Brewing. I'm not certain with the announcement yesterday as far as the stay-at-home advisory, if that is continuing, but there will be those opportunities once we can all get out moving again. Okay, let's see. Michael, any suggestions on taking off gloves during running? So yeah, I mean, if your hand, I mean, I have friends that their hands get so warm, and so they will take their gloves off while they're running. I would just be careful if it's really super cold out. You don't want to get, you don't want to get frostbite. So maybe consider using a thinner glove. There are just you can get some just cheap, knit gloves that might end up being a better option for you than doing something like this that's really meant for 20 degrees or 30 degrees. So that would be my one comment. I would just be really careful though that you don't want to get frostbite. So I can tell you from my own personal standpoint, my upper and my lower limit as far as going outside to run. I really hate running on treadmills. So I try to go outside as much as I can. If the wind chill is below 0, I don't go out. If the heat index is above 100, I don't go out. So that's it's a pretty good range. But it's just kind of what's comfortable for me. And it really does come down to, your personal preference and what you think you can handle. Any other questions? I'm looking at the chat. So if there's any other ones that people want to chat, you're welcome to do that as well. Well, hopefully I have given you some good information today. If you do have any questions after, you are welcome to email me. My email is ladillahunt@gmail.com or lisa@columbusrunning.com. Either way, you can shoot me an email and I'm happy to try to respond to you personally. You can also contact Drew or Susan in the Cardinal Fitness Center, and they can provide you with my contact information or come into one of our stores. All of our folks are more than happy to try to answer questions. And, we love talking about this stuff. So that is it, I guess. Susan or Drew, do you want me to end it, or do you need to do that?
I'm here, Lisa, so I could go
Okay.
ahead and I'll stop the recording and make sure that we get this out. So thanks again. We really appreciate that. It was great information.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. Use that discount code. Come on into our store and ask us any questions. We're happy to help you out.
Thanks, everyone. Take